The room goes quiet, and everyone assumes the silent man has nothing to say. They are wrong. He has already seen everything they missed, and he has decided you are not worth the truth yet. There is a moment in every gathering of people where someone stays silent while everyone else performs. They laugh a little too loud, argue a little too hard, explain a little too much. And in the corner, untouched by the noise, sits someone who says almost nothing. You have met this person. Maybe you have envied them. Maybe you have feared them a little without knowing why. That feeling is not random. Your instincts are picking up on something ancient, something buried deep in human history, something Niccolo Machiavelli understood better than almost anyone who ever lived. Machiavelli did not believe silence was weakness. He believed it was one of the last real forms of power left to a person who refuses to be controlled. In a world obsessed with being heard, being liked, being validated, silence has become almost suspicious. We are trained from childhood to explain ourselves, to defend our choices, to fill every uncomfortable pause with words. But somewhere along the way, most people forgot a brutal truth. The more you explain yourself, the more power you hand away. Think about the last time you over-explained something, a decision, a boundary, a simple no. Did it make people respect you more, or did it make them push harder, question you more, sense an opening? Machiavelli knew that explanation invites negotiation. The moment you justify yourself, you are no longer standing on solid ground. You are opening a door and asking people to argue you out of your own decision. Silence closes that door. Silence says, "This is final, and I owe you nothing more." This is where most people get Machiavelli completely wrong. They think his philosophy is about coldness, about manipulation, about becoming someone who tricks and deceives. That is the shallow version, the one people repeat without ever reading a single page of his work. The real lesson is far more uncomfortable, because it is not about controlling others. It is about controlling yourself. Every word you speak is information. Every reaction you show is a weapon you hand to someone else. Machiavelli lived in a world of betrayal, of princes who trusted the wrong advisor and lost everything, of alliances that shattered the moment someone revealed too much too soon. He watched intelligent men fall not because they lacked knowledge, but because they lacked restraint. They said what they knew. They reacted when they were hurt. They defended themselves when they were insulted. And their enemies used every single reaction against them. Here is the part that stings the most. The people who talk the most are often the easiest to defeat. Not because they are foolish, but because they are transparent. You can predict them. You can provoke them. You can bait them into revealing their fear, their anger, their weakness, simply by pushing the right button. But the quiet ones? The ones who absorb an insult without flinching, who hear a lie without correcting it in the moment, who watch betrayal unfold and say nothing until the right time comes. Those are the ones who are almost impossible to outmaneuver. There is a particular kind of pain in staying silent when everything inside you wants to scream. When someone insults you and you say nothing, it does not mean you did not feel it. It means you chose not to give them the reaction they were hunting for. This is the part nobody talks about. Silence is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of it. And mastery is always more painful, always more difficult than simply letting the emotion pour out. Ask yourself something honest. How many times have you regretted staying quiet? And how many times have you regretted the words you could never take back? For most people, the second number is far higher. Words spoken in anger, in hurt, in the desperate need to be understood, often cause more damage than the original wound itself. Machiavelli watched empires rise and fall on exactly this pattern, not because of grand betrayals alone, but because of small, careless words spoken at the wrong moment to the wrong person. Intelligent people learn this the hard way. They learn that not everyone who asks a question deserves an honest answer. They learn that not every accusation deserves a defense. They learn that the moment you feel the overwhelming urge to explain yourself to someone who has already decided to misunderstand you, that urge is not wisdom. It is a trap disguised as integrity. There is a deeper layer here, one that most people never reach. Silence is not just protection from enemies, it is protection from yourself. When you stay quiet, you are forced to sit with your own thoughts, instead of releasing them the moment they appear. You are forced to ask, is this feeling real, or is it just wounded pride speaking? Is this urge to defend myself coming from truth, or from fear of being misunderstood? Machiavelli's world rewarded those who could separate impulse from strategy. The prince who ruled with patience outlasted the prince who ruled with emotion. But there is a warning inside this wisdom too, and it would be dishonest to leave it out. Silence used as a weapon of ego, silence used to punish others, silence used to manipulate and control out of pettiness, is not the same silence Machiavelli respected. That is not strength. That is fear wearing the mask of power. The difference is intention. Are you silent because you are gathering strength, protecting your position, choosing your moment? Or are you silent because you are avoiding the discomfort of honesty, hiding behind coldness because real vulnerability terrifies you? One is mastery. The other is cowardice, pretending to be mastery, and people can feel the difference even when they cannot name it. This is the twist most people never expect. Machiavelli was not teaching people to become emotionless. He was teaching them to become undecipherable to those who did not deserve to decipher them, while remaining completely honest with the few who did. Silence in his world was never about isolation. It was about selection, choosing carefully who earns your words, your explanations, your truth. Because truth given carelessly to the wrong person becomes ammunition. Truth given wisely to the right person becomes trust. Look closely at the people you admire most, the ones who seem untouchable, unshaken, respected without demanding it. Notice how rarely they argue in public. Notice how rarely they defend themselves against small attacks. Notice how their silence in the face of provocation somehow makes them look stronger, not weaker, while the person attacking them looks smaller with every word. This is not an accident. This is a skill, sharpened over years of understanding one brutal truth about human nature. People respect what they cannot fully read. There is something almost frightening about a person who does not need to be understood by everyone. In a world addicted to approval, choosing silence over explanation feels like defiance. It feels like rebellion against the constant demand to justify your existence to strangers who are never going to understand you anyway. Machiavelli would tell you that your energy, your words, your truth are finite resources. Spend them on people who deserve them. Guard them from people who will only use them against you. So the next time you feel the burning urge to explain yourself to someone who has already judged you, pause. Ask yourself who benefits from your words in this moment. Ask yourself if silence would say more than any explanation ever could. Because somewhere between weakness and cruelty lies the quiet, controlled power that Machiavelli spent his life studying. Not the silence of someone who has nothing to say. The silence of someone who has decided you have not yet earned what they know. That is the brutal truth hiding inside every quiet room, every unread expression, every calm response to chaos. The world will always mistake silence for emptiness, right up until the moment it reveals itself as strength. And by then, it is already too late to underestimate the person who chose to stay quiet.